Hey folks, I'm Brady Larkin, and welcome back, or welcome to Footy with Friends. I've been thinking a lot about greatness recently, and it's actually unrelated to Tom Brady's 7th Super Bowl win last weekend. This week, Bayern Munich, representing the German Bundesliga, won the FIFA Club World Cup. This was Bayern's 6th consecutive trophy, so they're the reigning champions of every competition they played in since June. So they've won literally all there is to win. They won the league title, 2 German Cup competitions, the UEFA Champions League, the Super Cup, and on Thursday, the FIFA Club World Cup. I truly believe, and it's not an exaggeration, this team, this Bayern Munich team, will go down as the best team of the 2020s in world soccer. So of the entire decade, and I know we just started, it's 2021, but this Bayern Munich team, it's as good as you're going to see. I like looking at this scale of sports culture. You know, when you think about a dominant team of a certain era, you think about dynasties, you know, the bigger picture. There's a certain few teams that just leave a lasting impact on social consciousness and maybe the way that sport is being played for years after. I mean, in other sports, for example, the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, he helped them win 6 titles. In cycling, Team Sky from Britain, over a 7-year period, won 6 Tour de France titles, with Chris Froome was their champion rider in, I think, all but one of them. So there's a certain few teams that just define an era in their sport. And in soccer, there's been a lot of great teams, a bunch of really good teams that we think fondly of, but only a few who have really put their stamp on the entire sport for an era. If we think back to the 2000s, Barcelona of 2009, and they also won the sextuple. They won 6 trophies. It was the team of Messi, Xavi, Iniesta in the midfield. I think Henry was up top, Puyol and Piqué in the back. It was loaded. And most of these guys were also playing for the Spanish national team during this era, and they helped Spain win the 2008 Euro, the 2010 World Cup, the 2012 Euro, so 3 international competitions in a row. It was kind of incredible the lasting impact this Barcelona team had. It lasted for quite some time, and you can still see its roots today, just in soccer and in college soccer and the EPL. Like Pep Guardiola, who was the coach of that team, now at Man City, has kind of brought that back again, certainly to the Premier League, and that's what a lot of folks are watching on TV, a lot of coaches, a lot of players, so you can see how it could still be a prevalent style of play and philosophy of soccer. But man, these Barcelona teams, I mean, some of the lasting impacts you could see here in the United States youth soccer. So the best United States youth soccer league at the time, the Developmental Academy, they required every team in the league to play in a 4-3-3 formation, just like Barcelona. That's the formation they kind of made popular. And most club teams in the league discouraged goalkeepers from punting the ball or taking long goal kicks altogether. They preferred to build out from the back with short passes or have the goalkeeper roll it out to the nearest defender to begin their attack. So once a big team makes a lasting impact and this catches on, when these trends gain critical mass, I mean, they just become hegemonic, and their philosophy just drowns out everything else. So it's kind of hard to even imagine, and it was hard to even imagine another way of playing soccer and approaching problems on the field than how you would see Barcelona do it. And it was kind of fun during this time. I mean, this is when I was playing college soccer. It was really neat to be a player in this period because it was kind of transitioning from more or less structured to like tiki-taka, and the coaches were asking different things of their players. I mean, way different than what we were used to doing growing up until that point. Like, I had a great time. I played as an outside back, and all of a sudden I was being asked to be an attacker, bomb forward down the wing, overlap and provide service in the attack. Like, this was wild. I thought I was a defender, and now you're asking me to be at least 50% defender, 50% winger. It just took a major swing for that position specifically, and there was different changes like this happening all over the field. And this tiki-taka style of short passing and almost death by possession was really prevalent. And that's kind of what stuck until the Real Madrid teams came along. The 2010s were in a lot of ways defined by Real Madrid. They had a few coaches in this time span. The two most notable would be Carlo Ancelotti and Zinedine Zidane, who is still the coach. And we think about players from these teams like Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema up top. In the midfield, guys like Luka Modric and Toni Kroos. And guys in the back, Sergio Ramos at center back, Marcelo at left back, Iker Casillas in goal, kind of setting the standard for his position. I mean, these teams won just about everything on a regular basis. It's harder to pin down an exact year when they kind of put their stamp on it, but over 4 or 5 years, they just dominated world soccer. They won both the UEFA Champions League and the FIFA Club World Cup in 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018. They won 3 UEFA Super Cups, 3 League Cup competitions, 2 La Liga titles. I think you get the point. I mean, this was dominance. As far as the playing style with Madrid, it was more of a balanced approach where as much flair as they had on the attacking side of things with Ronaldo and when Bale came in, they also had guys that played pretty tough, who were defensive-minded. They were pretty much just destroyers, guys like Pepe at center back and Casemiro playing as a center defensive midfielder. I mean, this was a pretty clear response to what was the dominant Barcelona style of play where, it's all-out attack and all the pundits really just care about the possession stats rather than, the final score in some cases. This was the case just until the last few years. I mean, footy has been trending in the direction of transition soccer for a few years. And this kind of soccer looks quite a bit like college soccer, where it's fast, it's physical. The game is really played in those transition moments. The moments when you're not yet on attack, but you're not quite on defense yet. If a team wins the ball, they're looking to counterattack. Get to goal as quick as you can. So we think about maybe Leicester City. They won the Premier League title doing this. And on the flip side, if a team loses the ball, they're counter-pressing. Everyone on the team is converging on the ball as quick as they can. We think about Jurgen Klopp describing this counter-pressing, this gegenpressing. He calls it heavy metal football. I mean, that's the perfect way to describe this era. It's fast, it's exciting, Teams like Dortmund and Liverpool, they've been doing it really well for the past few years. But this Bayern Munich team, wow. I mean, talk about lethal transitions. Everyone on the team is super athletic. Everyone can attack. Everyone can defend. And for me, the guy on the team now that really sums this up more than anybody is Alphonso Davies. Alphonso Davies, he's a 20-year-old kid from Canada. It's his second year playing with the Bayern Munich first team. He plays as a left back, and he is the most impactful player on the team. I know Robert Lewandowski, he scores all the goals, right? He's just at the end. He's the exclamation point on a lot of their sequences of play, right? Their passing moves, right? He's the end. But what leads up to that, more often than not, is Alphonso Davies. Again, playing as a left back, he's intercepting passes and dribbling forward into the opposition's penalty box. I mean, he's incredible. And the way he's playing soccer, every match he plays, he is, in the moment, redefining his position. It's wild. And I predict this style of play is going to stick around for quite some time. When coaches are looking for the bigger, the faster, the stronger kids, right? They're playing faster, maybe more direct. I mean, it's certainly going to be played in the transition moments. Bayern Munich, the team of the 2020s. This is sustained excellence. I am all about it. I love learning about the kind of teams that tap into greatness. And as a coach, this is what I'm looking to ignite in any team I'm involved with. And it's with greatness in mind that I bring you my guest this week, David Yates. David is the assistant men's soccer coach at the University of Mary Washington, a Division III school in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I know I say the soccer world is small a lot of the time, but I think David and I proved the rule on this one. We have the distinction of having coached at each other's alma maters. Like, how funky is that? The Lynchburg, UMW, Maine Farmington connection is strong. This was a great conversation, not only about coaching, but leadership and making positive impacts on student athletes. So whether you're a coach or a player or a parent or just someone who appreciates good teamwork and a job well done, I think you'll find something in here for you. It was awesome to catch up, and honestly, it's been long overdue in a year where we didn't get to see each other out on the recruiting trails. I mean, we're both hoping that changes soon. We're both optimistic about the state of college soccer this spring and definitely next fall. I mean, my dream is to get to coach against UMW in the NCAA tournament one day. So I'm hoping that day comes soon. And folks, I hope you enjoy this one. And without further ado, let's get stuck in. Here's my conversation with David Yates.
Arsenal, I think at this point, there's not even an allure to like them being what they were.
Yeah. Well, hey, how about we start there? Because I
Right.
definitely want to pick your brain about Arsenal. And
Yeah, that sounds good.
it's not Arsenal like you probably and we probably grew up watching. Did you I'm sure fall in love with them because of Arsene Wenger and that type of Arsenal?
I mean, to be honest, the reason I definitely I think ended up selecting them was literally because of Thierry Henry.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it was
Okay.
legitimately because of Thierry Henry. So that is how I started to get into it. And then I don't know, I wasn't necessarily obsessed, but over the years I just started I also thought they had really sick jerseys. It's like the O2 kits with the maroon collar might be one of the best jerseys of all time, in my opinion.
That's a good one. I like the long sleeve version.
Yeah.
That's
Oh no,
nice.
that's what I'm saying. It was unbelievable. Like that's when it started. Plus that team, like when they were ripping and running, they were just so fun to watch. It was him, Bergkamp. You had Robert Pires. You had like Freddie Junberg. You had the entire back line was ridiculous. You had a young Ashley Cole.
Mm-hmm.
You had like Seaman was in goal. Like they were loaded. So that was just they were fun. And yeah, Wenger was like I think at that point also he was revolutionizing like bringing the French to the EPL.
Yeah.
Um, I've been
Yeah.
reading a lot of books lately, kind of like detailing the history of the EPL slash like just the modern era of soccer.
Okay.
So like I started reading this book called Zonal Marking. I think you'd like it a lot. It breaks down like every 4 year like period and like who was the top country slash what was the top league at that time. Like
Ooh,
now is
okay.
like I'm reading I think 2000 to 2004 when it was like Portugal was just getting on the scene. Like Porto had won the Champions League.
Like
A
Luis
young
Figo.
a young Mourinho was really getting himself in there. So I read like I think it was 96 through 2000 was the French, and it just talked about like I don't know. It's a really cool book, but
Wow. And it's just like world soccer, not just Premier League.
world soccer, not just Premier League. I'm trying to think what I read recently that was kind of just about the Prem. But yeah, this is what I'm reading now. It's been good. But yeah, I mean, Arsenal was great back in the day. I mean, obviously the Invincibles, I think, was like definitely even more like why I followed them. They were the best team in the
Hmm.
world, didn't lose. But now, I mean, I don't know, like they've had a weird season, but I think they've got like 4 or 5 young guys that are like gonna be unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you like to see young guys coming through, but there's so much at stake. You kind of get pissed when they make mistakes and they don't get results. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, you want to have faith in Arteta. Like he's trusting the young guys. But
Yeah, he really is.
yeah, it's
But again, right now they're sitting whatever they're sitting 11th place in the
11th
EPL.
place.
They're behind Leeds. It's crazy. Like they're
Hmm.
down there. I'm trying to think. I mean, really, it's just them out of like the big. I guess you'd say 4 or 6 now that we have. But it's been an interesting season so far. I think City's going to win it personally.
They're the team to be stopped, clearly. I mean,
Yeah,
they're so deep.
it's crazy.
It's like a embarrassment of riches they have.
But United's been playing well as well. I mean, Everton's been fun to watch. Did you watch that game yesterday?
I had to watch like it took me a while just to get through the highlights. There were so many goals.
No, man, it was crazy.
Oh, yeah, and they score the fifth goal to go up 5-4, and Ancelotti's just like sipping his coffee.
Yeah,
Like
my
been
roommate
here,
showed me
done that. Yeah.
my
So
roommate
cool.
showed me that earlier, and it was like when because he was the manager for Madrid when they scored in like the last minute with Ramos, right?
In the Champions League final.
Yeah, and there was like a meme saying like been here like this moment happened. This is just like another casual moment in the FA Cup. I'm bigger than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm bigger than this.
I mean, he's big time. He's been in so many games like that. He's won multiple Champions League finals. Like he's probably played in one too. Like
Yeah.
he's fine. Um, I do. Speaking of Arsenal, like watching Arteta and like the way he sets out the team, and he's
Mhm.
taking a little from Pep and trying to play like City, like at least playing out from the back. But
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, you got Rob Holding building out instead of Ruben Diaz.
That's really the biggest problem is that he has set them up to have some success, and I think that they do have some players that they can like kind of play like that. But you have David Luiz, Rob Holding. Really, the center backs have been the issue, and
Mm-hmm.
like they had Gabriel they brought in, but he had dealt with like some red cards and some other things. And then you had William Saliba, who was supposed to be the guy, young Frenchman, but like he couldn't even get in the lineup.
Right.
Um, so I mean, I think the outside backs are interesting. I think Tierney's going to be he's
He's a good
phenomenal to
player.
watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then like their center mids are good, and again they got some like what they have in the attack: Pepe, Aubameyang, and the unbelievable Willian, who's been phenomenal.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with their attack. Like they're fine.
They lead, they
It's
lead
it's
goals.
it's a matter of getting the ball from the back to those guys.
Yeah,
Somewhere it more often than not breaks down.
yeah. But I mean, they have had Party has been like I think not having him because of his injury spell has been like detrimental to them. Because I
Mm.
think he is the guy. Like whatever, if you want to build out of the back, you spread those two center backs wide, and you just let him pick it up and carry it. He's done it for Atletico. He's shown glimpses at Arsenal, but
Hmm.
he's just like dealt with some weird injuries this season. So
Dude, that's the story of a lot of teams, injuries, because the games are coming every 2, 3 days, and it's going to be like that for like 8 months. It's nuts. It's like a college soccer season, really. But
seriously, but you can only imagine like the clubs. I mean, for the guys that are in charge of the periodization piece, like I'm doing my C license right now. Like periodization for them right now is like play. We gotta recover. We gotta recover.
yeah, yeah, it's literally a race to recover. Like who's going to have the freshest legs, and well, really, it's the teams that have the deeper bench are able to rotate and like
Oh yeah.
sure that and for Arsenal, you start rotating just a little bit, and all of a sudden, kids are on the field.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Emil Smith Rowe has been like all over the place.
Hmm.
Saka. I mean, you've got like Joe Willock. You've got I think it's Balogun who's like playing for their 23s. Has been like making a couple appearances. I mean, it's good for those guys, but yeah, the younger you get in like big games, it's troublesome.
Yeah.
But I will say that Arteta has taken. So I watched their YouTube channel a lot. They put up some good stuff of them like within their training sessions.
Nice.
He's so demanding in that environment. Like
Is he?
he's definitely taken some from Pep in terms of like his personality with just like the constant coaching over the flow. And like
Okay. Okay.
some of the guys I guess really respond to it well and some haven't. So we'll see. We'll see. I think you got to give him that's the thing in the EPL. They don't give these managers 2-year periods. You've got 6 months or you're done.
Yeah. See you, Lampard. Yeah, you're out.
He's lucky he won an FA Cup. Seriously, Arteta's lucky he won an FA Cup.
Yeah. So what's the hope this year for Arsenal? Are you hoping to win like Europa League and
I think I, I think that's got to be it. That's got to be at this point. They're out of the FA Cup. I don't even know what other cups were like. There's so many, but like I think it's just you got to have Europa League success.
Mhm.
And the problem with that though is those teams from the Champions League that bounce out always bounce in, and they
Yeah.
always seem to find a way to draw those teams and lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's tough. Yeah, when the like an Inter Milan doesn't qualify and they get relegated to Europa League and then they start thrashing people. Like that's not fair.
I mean, right now there's some United's in there, Tottenham's in the Europa League, Leicester's in the Europa League,
Yeah.
Ajax is in the Europa League. Arsenal's got Benfica. That's not going to be an easy one.
Mm-mm.
RB Salzburg, like Napoli, crazy.
Yeah, you just got to get through the group stages and like
Yeah.
then you can kind of really start watching and it's actually a legit
Oh yeah.
competition, you know?
Some of the group stages are brutal. No, I think it's Europa League success or bust.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think they're not gonna get Champions League at this point based off where they stand in the table, unless they just go on like a crazy tear and the teams in front just drop. So
Mm,
we shall see.
I know. I know. We'll see. You made me think of I just ordered a new book. Speaking about books and like
Okay.
weird Europa League, matchups. The book is about like an older version of the Europa League, the
Hmm.
European Cup Winners' Cup,
Yep. Yep.
right? And like the title and subtitle just hooked me, like because it explains what it is or what it was, and it was all these teams around Europe who just won a cup. Like you win the Carabao Cup, you're in this European tournament. Like so you get the most random matchups of like teams from disparate parts of Europe. It's like and it just had some wild storylines like throughout.
That's pretty cool. What's the book? What's the book called?
I think it's called like the weirdness of the European Cup Winners' Cup.
Here's an idea. We could start a coaches one of those, where you send books to each other and you get random books back.
Mm-hmm.
Just get like a big collection of that, and everybody's just sending stuff left and right. That would be pretty cool. I would probably send you.
Yeah, what would you send me?
I think I'd send you the Encyclopedia Blazer Tanica that I have from Men and Blazers.
I've heard that's good.
But yes, no, that's cool, man. I was actually thinking about that because I was reading like the Real Madrid way talked about that because like they would win that all the time back in the day.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they should bring it back.
Yeah, they should. They should.
How
I mean, don't
weird
you have
is
that
that?
kind of with the Club World Cup? Kind of. I don't even know how that format works.
Well, they have to win like their Champions League and from whatever, continent. So it's a little more selective, but same concept. But looking forward to diving into that book. I ordered a bunch of soccer books recently.
Yeah, just went for it.
Oh yeah, I just went for it. Let's dive into some college soccer. You're currently the assistant men's soccer coach at Mary Washington. And I figured before we dive into even more, what this spring looks like, or maybe even next year, I figured we could unpack, your coaching career thus far. You've made some cool stops at some great colleges. So I'm sure you've picked up some really good things from working with some really good coaches.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, was the plan always to make it back to Virginia, closer to your roots?
Yeah, I think that definitely was in the kind of trajectory of where I was trying to do, but I also think that I also had no idea. So I think the first few years were kind of just getting out there, getting masters, figuring out coaching was like the plan, and then like after that first stop, it ultimately was. So
Thinking back to when you were a college senior, was
mhm.
this something you knew you wanted to try? The coaching side of soccer.
Yeah, so that's actually no, and I think that's actually perfect. So like it definitely was, and at first I tried to get on at Lynchburg.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'd finished up, I was going into the spring, I was doing like my internship with CVU, which was like the local club. Like obviously CVU, great place. But I got in with that, and then I figured like why not give it a shot. Honestly, went through like an interview process, and like like Hinkle ended up getting it. It was interesting, like kind of doing that with a guy that you played with, like kind of both trying to vouch for it. Like I attended everything in that spring, like went to all the sessions with the guys, like went to their play day, did all of that to kind of see like this is what it's going to take from the coaching side of things. And then when that ultimately didn't work out, um, I don't think I knew anything what I was going to do. It was kind of just like, oh, well, here we go. But Danuzo, who was the first guy that I worked for at up at UMF, like reached out and asked if I was interested. And immediately it was kind of like, just, yep, I'm not even going to say no. We're just going to say, let's get this moving, and we'll move up to Maine like a
Mm-hmm.
couple months after I finished graduation. So that was pretty interesting how I just threw myself into Farmington, Maine.
Yeah. Hey, and I did it too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And for me, it was kind of similar where it's okay. I love soccer. I'm kind of interested in coaching, and I'll
Mhm.
figure it out as I go. Was it like that for you?
100%. So it was like, again, going up there was part time. I mean, I was fortunate to kind of, I think, start really club coaching up there as well with Western Maine United.
Mm-hmm.
Did some stuff with them. Really enjoyed the college. Really enjoyed actually the college first season of coaching, and like actually was a part of like UMF's honestly like I think most successful, or like one of their most successful seasons. We actually won a playoff game in the NAC, which was like crazy. So got to do that, experience that, and then yeah, I think after that first season in the fall, I was like, all right, I definitely want to do this full time. So let's figure out kind of the next steps. Um, and that led to looking for graduate assistant programs all over the place,
Mm.
which was an interesting search. So, like I'm sure there've been some guys that I know that have gotten a job coaching and have kind of been at one place for a while. And then there's guys like, I guess you would say you and myself that have bounced around to a few different programs, gotten to see how things work. So the graduate assistant degree and going to New England College was phenomenal experience. Um, got to do that, been at BMI and then now at UMW for 2 years with a global pandemic being a part of it. So it's been a crazy path.
Yeah, and there's no one right way. There's no one right career path
No,
for
no,
for a coach. Like you said,
not
you
at all.
we know like some of our colleagues have done it different ways. But do you think the master's degree and at least pursuing that higher education has helped you?
I would say yes. I think it's just opened up different avenues potentially. I also feel like, again, if you want to become a head coach collegially, is like that's pretty much expected nowadays, is to have a master's in something, whether it's business administration, whether it's sports management, whether it's education, whether it's, whatever it might be. It's really that's what the universities and colleges are looking for, is because they want somebody that has gone through, I guess you'd say, like 6 to 7 years of post high school education.
Right.
But it was definitely worth it, because you not only had to manage taking classes, also coaching within a season is a lot different than playing. There's a lot
Yes.
more hours that go into it than people anticipate. So,
Hmm.
your day could start as early as 8 a.m., 7 a.m., and you might not wrap up until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, especially if you're coaching clubs. So I did all of that with the graduate assistant position. And then you also had to do like games management. So I got to like work for, do some games management for like ice hockey, which was super cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because NEC had a men's ice hockey and a women's ice hockey program. So got to do that. I actually like worked the shot clock. Got to help out with like lacrosse, basketball. Got to actually call a game for basketball. Got on the
Hmm.
microphone. That was sick. But yeah, no, totally worth it. I think really helped actually progress myself as a coach in terms of like some of the finer details that I think you really need. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly, I'm sure it's the fine details and the balance, like you said. Yeah, the life of an assistant coach is, I don't think many people understand what goes into it, or really just the life of a coach.
yeah.
Like you talk about the long days, people see coaches on the sideline at practice or at games. Can you talk a little bit more about what people might not see, like the work behind the scenes, like just some examples maybe of what goes into making a good performance on the weekend?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's an interesting question. I mean, I would say like I would just base it all off, I guess I'll say maybe my like first year at UMW. Because I think that is when like I really got to kind of really immerse myself in terms of like the roles and responsibilities of the assistant. But now we have Mike Webb, who's been on staff for pretty much like I feel like the entirety of the program at UMW since like 1977. But he's the man. So like I would say like, yeah, there's so much that goes into it. I think a typical day for an assistant coach might be, oh, that's crazy. If you really think about it, you're getting into the office in the morning. Let's say you have a recruit on campus. You might be touring that recruit. You're looking forward to trying to get somebody to lock up for 4 years at your university. So you got to put on a show there. And then next thing you know, might be, we'll say day of a game. We would occasionally do like a light bit of film, especially if it was like a Saturday, let's say, maybe like 2 or 3 hours pregame. So putting all that stuff together, during the week, a lot goes into that. Getting kind of whatever we wanted to show, whether it was like a good scout on, let's say, CNU, for example, kind of showing their tendencies, their strengths and weaknesses, all of that, or showing how we were
Hmm.
going to be successful, so that's still going on. And then the assistant might be in charge of putting together the pregame meal. So whether
Hmm.
we're going to the cafeteria, have a meal together at the UC, or we're getting together somewhere else for a quick pregame, like light snack, have to do that. For me, it was also going to the locker room, putting out all of the jerseys, having that all set up, getting
Hmm.
out for whatever, an hour and a half prior to the game starting, making sure the balls were all pumped up, making sure the corner flags were out, making sure everything was essentially ready to go. And then at that point, you're like 6 hours, 7 hours into your day, and then you have to really focus your energy on the coaching for
Yeah.
like an hour and a half, and like being present within that. Which I feel like a lot of coaches have different kind of ways that they coach. Some coaches I think are more chill, laid back mentality, and some coaches put a ton of energy into being on the sidelines and being a presence. So that can also take a toll. And then the day's not over, Brady. After that, we gather all the jerseys. I had to do the laundry that season. So like I would take the jerseys back to my house, do the laundry, like make sure they were washed appropriately, and then like take them back to where we stored all of them, like probably that night. So yeah, and I wouldn't be done until like 9, 10 o'clock, just to make sure the guys are good and have everything taken care of. I think that's the one thing that goes unnoticed is, yes, like we enjoy the tactics, we enjoy the planning of the sessions, we enjoy the games, we enjoy all of that. But I think it's also so important that the guys feel like they're ready to go and that they're in the right spot mentally, and all the little things, they eventually add up.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they didn't have their jerseys laid out and they were just picking them out and putting them up, then yeah, maybe they don't perform as well as they might if their jerseys are laid out and it's all ready for them.
Right. Right. That's a good point. Yeah, it's trying to figure out things we could do as coaches to make the player's life easier and find those incremental improvements, really just the improvements in the margins. You know, that's a good point. And yeah, the days are long, but maybe it's maybe it's those years of juggling grad school and club soccer and college soccer. It all prepares us for the chaos of game day, maybe.
Absolutely does.
Hmm. Yeah. What's your coaching style? Are you the laid back kind? Or are you the guy on the edge of his technical area?
That's a good question. So like I thought I've also had the like chance, especially lately, to like I've had more involvement in club recently, just because we really haven't been able to do too much at UMW.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to actually coach like a 2009 girls team, which is 12-year-olds,
Okay.
a 2006 boys team, which are like freshmen in high school, and then I coached the oldest girls group all at FFC. So
Wow.
I think lately for me, it's like I've really had to vary my approach.
Yeah, I bet. That's the full spectrum of
I think on the girls' side, I'm like a little bit more laid back, chill, and they all notice that. It's a lot more talking to players individually when they come off, for like making like one-on-one coaching points, especially with the younger girls. I think it's mostly just based off of like encouragement. But then with like my '06 boys, if they're playing a game, I'm pretty loud and I'm pretty out there. So especially at the collegiate level, yeah, even different for that as well. I think for the
hmm
most part with the UMW crew, like Kilby is pretty laid back, doesn't say too much unless you really feel like he needs to. Webb occasionally will scream some things, but I think that's just because he's getting older. And then yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that much unless it was just like mostly pretty much just like tactical information, focusing on different lines and whatnot. But
Right.
it's definitely varied. I don't think I have a certain coaching style. I think it shifts.
Well, that's probably a style in itself. It probably speaks to your like emotional intelligence and your interpersonal relationships, whether it's young girls, old girls, high school boys, college boys. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, getting all those experiences is only going to make you refine your approach to coaching that much better.
I think it'd be like if I had to like describe it as like a Pokemon, I think it'd be like, is it Ditto? That's the morpher,
He's a shapeshifter. Yeah.
shapeshifter, right? Yeah, I'd say it's like Ditto. I'm shape shifting into different versions of myself.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any coaching role models that you try to at least take pieces from and make it your own?
Um, I mean, I would definitely say, like, to be honest, most of the coaching role models that I've had have probably been guys that I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tommy Denuzzo at Hampton Sydney, learned a lot from him. I just think kind of he is the man when it comes to like planning everything out and having everything ready. I'd say Dave DeQ, who I learned from, is again like great in terms of man management and just understanding like each and every one of his players and what's gonna get them to perform that much better, whether it's being in their ear or just like letting them do their thing. And then even like, yeah, Kilby and Webb specifically, like have really, I think, taught me a lot, just in terms of when to again like let the guys just do their own thing and let them play, versus like when again you really have to sit there, break stuff down, and show them like, hey, this is what we want from you. So it's all been really, I think, people that I've interacted with for an extended period of time, instead of like Pep Guardiola. Yes, I like Pep. He
Right.
does some awesome things, but his thinking and the way that he like interacts is completely another world.
Yeah, his whiteboard skills, like from that Man City documentary. It's untouchable. He's the best.
Untouchable, untouchable. Any of those series are great. The Brazil one was really good. I like that one a lot.
I started watching that, I honestly didn't finish it, but it was just heating up. Neymar joined the squad, like fashionably late, shocker. But yeah, that was a cool take on the was it all or nothing, like
Yeah, no,
Brazil.
it was interesting. Really, really showed like how some of the personalities they have are like Ederson. I don't know, like that's a guy that's gonna either play like unbelievable technical soccer, just rip somebody's head off.
Yes, yes.
So no,
He's
it's
like a
pretty cool.
ticking time bomb. That guy.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Gosh. Yeah, I gotta finish that one, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that, you know, the guys you've worked with and close to are more of your role models because it's more tangible. You can see how they impact a player. Speaking of like the players themselves, you've coached at the Division 3 level, you've coached at the Division 1 level. What's the difference between the two? Does anything stand out as far as a player's skill set, or what you're seeing in the team?
Yeah, that's a good question. To be honest, there's definitely a difference in, I just think, the athletic profile within our country, the type of
Mm-hmm.
kids and like athletes that are playing at the Division 1 level. I also think that there's a lot to do with like some of those kids being international, and mostly at the Division 3 is like you're finding like your grassroots players here that have come up through club systems and have been strictly living in the States. When I was at VMI for a year, that was also like probably the most difficult season I've ever been through in terms of just like wins, losses. Um, I think you get to train a lot more, which is great. So if you're a Division 1 head coach, like the time spent with players is a lot different than the time spent with players at D3 level.
Right.
And I mean, I strictly remember one game we played. I think it was Manhattan, and they had like two guys on their team. One was I think a 7 or an 11, and one was a center back. And both of these guys, I don't remember what country they were from, but I kid you not, they were like 185, 195 pounds, pure muscle. Like one dude's quads looked like it was pretty much my torso. And I was just like, these guys are not like what we have.
Right.
And it was just like, yeah, looking at those types of players versus the types of players we had, you were like, there's really a difference. There's really a difference at some of these programs, specifically the ones that can throw full scholarships
Mm-hmm.
at important positions. So I think that's really a big difference to me, is just that. And then like, I think you can also really define a system a lot more detailed in terms of like the time spent putting it together, if you know what I mean.
Time spent with the team.
Yeah, so like I think you can just do a lot more. I think again for us at the Division 3 level is, we go August to whatever, maybe November in the fall, maybe even like late November, and then it's a break, it's a dead period. Like you don't really get to see the guys, be around them. So like
Mm-hmm.
there is, you can do all that stuff, then you have a little bit of a period off, you can go into functional training again, and then like you get another full season essentially in the spring with games. So if you're working on doing something within your system, you can spend an entire year on it and really refine it.
Yeah, that is a big difference. But it's also a difference that I'm sure you find the players, at least the ones you're coaching now and the ones I'm coaching now, they're this is what they're looking for. They were looking for more
Mm-hmm.
of a balance,
Yep.
because they might be more committed to their studies or maybe some clubs on campus, and they have more time to pursue those interests,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just diving into soccer all year round.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure you have players that want to do that, and they're kind of stuck in the winter months and early spring. So it's a balancing act for sure.
I would agree. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think some of the guys that are going to these Division 1 programs see themselves playing professional soccer, and like that is their avenue. They're going to get a degree and then they're going to try it out. I think here, most of the guys we get, like, I think there's some of those aspirations are still there and like they want to play at an extremely high level, but I also think there's the realization that it's going to be difficult. So might as well enjoy it and like get the most out of it. But then also put like my interest in other things like internships and clubs, like you mentioned, and
Yeah.
whether it's like extracurricular activities or like intramural sports, like, you're not going to be able to really do that at some of those other places,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I fell in love with D3. Like, that was my whole thing. Like, for me, Division 1, that experience was great. I got to go and do some different things, which I just don't see myself going at the Division 1 level again. I think D3, there's just so much you can do.
Agreed. Yeah. I love it. And it's more than just that balance. I think it's what I liked as a player. It's what I appreciated. So I can certainly relate to that as a coach. So
Yeah, for sure,
yeah,
man.
I'm all in on D3.
All in on D3.
Um, well, speaking of kids that we coached and kids that you've coached, you know, you said, more often Division 1 players are the ones that want to make it to pro. They have those aspirations. But every now and then there's some folks that we coach at the Division 3 level that have those same ambitions, right?
Yeah.
And I have a feeling I know who you're going to choose. But if you had to choose the most talented player you've ever coached
Uh,
or the best player, could you pick one?
um, I mean, yeah, I think if I had to do it like based off of a full season of like just being with the guy the entire time, I think I'd pick a kid that I coached this past year. But again, if you're looking at selection and being drafted number 2 overall in MLS, I'd probably have to say like I was fortunate enough to coach Saeed Haji for like a brief spell,
Mm-hmm.
and kid was unbelievable. Um, just like unbelievable talent, could do anything with the ball. Like, we played on when I was at NEC, we had a tiny field. I don't even know what the dimensions were, so small. It was probably like 110 by like 55. I feel like it was
Oh my
tiny,
gosh.
man. But like, that kid could glide through everybody in a field packed with 22 players. So, but if I had to pick the one player probably that I've coached that I just think is like the epitome of like what you're looking for, I would have to say this past year, Gabriel Soriano, who is our first team All-American, I think would be the guy. Just like one of the most selfless individuals. Never seemed like he was bragging about how like good he was or how much success he was having that season. Uh, did everything that everybody else was doing. Plus was like a full-time student. Plus was working like full-time. So it was just like, man. And he was a local kid who came from Mike Webb's program. So it was just like the coolest thing ever. He was like, comes back from being in the hospital with like a burst appendix, to like becoming a first team All American and being like Virginia SID, I think it was Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Sick.
Wow. What a story.
Seriously.
Wow.
I mean, there's definitely a list, but like, yeah, I think those two guys, and they're both center mids, which I have like a fondness for. I think that position is unreal. So
Mm-hmm. At least speaking about Gabriel Soriano, did his
yeah.
just lead by example ness rub off on the team?
So I think again, like Gabe wasn't ours. So that team, we had 2 captains. We had Jake Lovinger, and then Lucas Turney, and really like those 2 guys were the guys that I think led through their words and in terms of getting everybody to everything on time and being organized and doing all that. And I think Gabe was just like, everybody knew he was going to try and be the boss within every single session. He never stopped with his work rate. He would stay after for like 15, 20 minutes, striking balls, working on set pieces, like going through all of that. So, yeah, he was just, he grinded, man. And like, he played the number 10 role. So you expect the number 10 to be just this creative playmaker like type.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy defended, I think, more effectively than like a lot of the players we had on our team.
Nice.
So like, if you have a player like that who's supposed to be, the guy that just does it all in the attack, and he's winning and grinding and like doing all of this stuff, like it's gonna show off. I think one freshman in particular, like if I had to talk with him, he'd be like, yeah, this guy really influenced how I'm gonna become as a player.
Wow. Again, super special player, super special person, it sounds
Oh
like.
yeah.
Um that that's what makes our lives as coaches enjoyable. Like we love showing up every day in general. I think that's why we gravitate towards this job. But being able to work with some special and driven and committed student athletes, I mean, it is so fun to come into work every day when the players are just as excited to show up and yeah, put in extra work. Not just the 2 hours of practice, but extra. Come on, yeah, I'd rather be outside on the field than in the office.
Oh yeah, no, I mean for sure. The guys like going back to UMF, doing pit sessions with guys, like doing all of that, like the individual training that I did at NEC, like the guys that want to do all that extra work, even though they're not getting paid, and even though they know it might be like whatever 1 or 2 more years of their intense playing careers, like that's what makes it special. So
Yeah. Can you speak to, and maybe this happened with Soriano, being a senior, just crushing it all year. There's something about a college senior varsity athlete when it's probably the end of the road for their sport career, soccer career, basketball career, whatever it may be. The reality is most college athletes aren't going pro. How powerful is it really? Like when the seniors just are clearly invisibly holding nothing back. I think the trick to coaching is like, and if we can somehow unlock this, like get that mentality, that senior mentality into a sophomore or a junior, and then you're going places, right?
oh yeah, I think I mean, if I had to like pick a moment that it was when we lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament, lost to Rowan. It was a heartbreaker. It was a tough game. Like they were an extremely tough side. Um, you knew it was going to be a physical affair. Soriano probably played, in my opinion, like the best game I've ever seen anybody play. He didn't lose the ball. He won tackles left and right. There were moments that he was megging guys, like doing things. I was like, holy cow, this kid's putting it on the line. And then afterwards, he was just, that point, like you're consoling all your guys, their season's over, the seniors are all distraught. And like he was kind of, I would say, detached, like in the middle of the field, but like you could just tell he just like broke down. And it was just like all of this time that he spent, his entire like career, like everything to get to that point and then fall so short. But then like the best part about it was like you saw him there, you saw guys going support, and then like his family came out and they were all together. Like they stayed like 45, 50 minutes after the game in the team shelter. We're just sitting there talking, like, and Mike and Webb was in there with him as well. And it was just this moment of his high school coach that had been through it all, who coached him in college, getting to be like with him through all of that. I think that was the moment I was like, man, this is why I really enjoy this. Like, this is the type of relationships you can build with these players.
Yeah, when you can share those moments. And
Yeah, and if you think about the amount of like hours that a player puts into their game, and like the amount of hours that, let's say, Webb coached him, that's
yeah,
crazy.
that's incredible. Yeah, the relationship is so close at that point, clearly. Wow. He's the kind of player that can drive a program forward. Like, sure, it's great for that year, wherever, however far it goes, however long it lasts, but for years to come, that impact could be felt. And I'm sure you're seeing that now with the team and maybe recruiting, where you can share that story. That's big time.
I think you could share, like, again, I think there's a lot of programs that definitely, like, I'm sure kind of, I don't want to say flaunt, but like, yes, you're producing these All Americans, you're doing all of these like all region players, like whatnot. But like, if you can share more than just the award itself and like what those players did to get to that point, I think that's great. Like another example, Justin Carey was the year prior. He was, I believe, a first team All American, also an academic All American. So, it's kind of a trend that you want to continue to roll with. You want those guys getting these awards because then, yes, you can tell recruits like, hey, this is what we want to build you towards. But then you can also have like the other stories to like pull along with it.
Right. Right. How is recruiting going these days?
Recruiting's definitely been different.
Very different, I assume. Yeah. I mean, is it mostly video? Like, what does it look like now?
I mean, I've definitely like taken a little bit of a back seat a little bit more. I feel like Kilby's been out there grinding. I mean, I've definitely gone to some events, but it's also been a lot of video, and it's just I think it's also been a good shift for the individual players and the clubs themselves, because they've now like realized that they can like stream all of this stuff and they can give coaches that maybe they wouldn't have in the past access.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's just opened up more of a like broader spectrum for kids to look elsewhere than just like their region that they're associated with.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean the fact that yeah you can be sitting in your living room in Virginia and talking to me in New York. I mean same thing for
Right?
kids. They're cutting up their highlight videos and they could instantly send it out to coaches across the country. You know?
I don't know. It's been intriguing. I don't think that we've taken a step back in terms of like how active we are, but it's definitely been just different ways. So like we've created like a nice database for like all the kind of the clubs and like the leagues that we like, so we can kind of just access things that way. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, I mean, a good mixture. Being able to get out there as well isn't too shabby. Trying to get out there this weekend, but weather, we're getting some snow right now, so we'll see.
Okay. There again, there's no one right way to do it.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah,
going through this for the first time with this shift and more video, more club streaming games. I mean, you could literally watch games every weekend. There's something being streamed. So you almost have to be more selective and do your homework on the clubs and the players before you devote an afternoon to watch, a team play. You know.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I like it. Yes, would I rather like things not be like this? Sure, but again, you've got to be able to. Everybody's got to be able to find a way to move on and live their lives. So at least giving the class of 2021 a chance instead of just having them be absolutely diminished and demolished.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. Well, to get caught back up to speed and
Mm-hmm.
UMW now, you guys, or I guess the athletic department made a shift from what was the Capital Athletic Conference. I mean, geez, UMW's been in there since it probably began, since it was founded.
Close to it when I was like trying to look through all the history and whatnot.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, for quite some time. But you guys made a really cool move that is unique, certainly in the Division III landscape. Not only, shifting to a conference, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you founded a whole new conference, the Coast to Coast Conference.
It was something that had been discussed for a while just because some of the schools in the conference were switching out or moving elsewhere. So like obviously, in order to have like that automatic qualifier, you got to have a certain amount of teams. I believe it's 7. But yeah, we made the shift to Coast Conference. So we still have like CNU still in it. St. Mary's, Maryland, Salisbury, and SVU are the remaining teams left in the CAC. And then we added UC Santa Cruz, Finlandia, Mills, which is just on the women's side, I believe, and then Mount Mary as well is just on the women's side, and then Pine Manor was the other one,
Okay.
and then Pratt Institute. So some names that I was completely unfamiliar with, but it's kind of spread out all over, which is cool.
Yeah.
The cool thing is actually the Finlandia program. It's actually a former NEC assistant is the head coach there, and that's like up in Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, so the way that it was all works out is I believe like all the teams compete within your kind of your non-conference schedule, and then the teams regionally that you can play, and then at the end, heading into the conference tournament, they base their seeding on that, like how you performed. There's some statistical breakdown that I still have to be absolutely familiar with. And then they select a host going into the year. So like this year we were supposed to be the host. So all of those teams would have flown in. We would have hosted like a weekend event
Okay.
and done that. And then obviously would have had your champion from there. So definitely, I mean, it was the right shift. Is it regional? No, but I think it'll work out. And it's a different name. So something new.
It's definitely a new name, something new, and a really cool experience, or at least whenever the season does happen, it's going to be a cool experience for the student athletes. I mean, you get to
Absolutely.
potentially wherever the tournament is, you could fly to Michigan for a weekend or California.
Maybe California. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely something that they could look at and be like, all right, this could be extremely cool experience that not a lot of programs really get to partake in.
Yeah, it's big time. It's big time. It's professional status.
We'll stay close to it. Close to it.
Close to it. Nice. Well, yeah, hopefully the season does come back around in the fall. I guess overall sounds like you're really optimistic for the group that is still here this spring, the core of the team, and the incoming guys coming in next fall.
Yeah, we're definitely optimistic. I think we're also at a point though. It's these guys that we have currently that are seniors. Most of them, I think, are going to graduate out. We might have like two come back. And then you have to look at it like we lost that last senior class. So going into next fall, it's potentially like 60% of the team is brand new, unproven, and like not game tested. So hopefully get to do a lot of work this spring and then incorporate those new guys into the fall as quickly as possible.
Right. Yeah. It'll be exciting for the life of a coach. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
A lot of teaching to do, a lot of education.
That's why we're doing it.
That's why we're doing it. And we can trust that, you know, UMW isn't the only team going through this. Rochester is not the only team going through this. You know, it's every team. So
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a whirlwind of a 2021 fall season. Oh my gosh.
I can honestly, I cannot imagine the intensity of the first 5 minutes of that first game that these guys play.
All the pent up energy.
It's just gonna be ugly. I can just anticipate it being so ugly, but it's just gonna be so much fun. So I know I'm looking forward to it, and you can tell these guys are as well. Like today, we got to tell them, like, all right, we're gonna start out functional and then build to hopefully traditional setting. You could just see in their eyes, like, finally we can play against some of these freshmen that we didn't get to like play against at all in the fall. Or,
right, right.
I hyped up one of the guys to the team and was like, yeah, he said that he's going to tear you guys up this spring. So, back four, what are you guys going to do about that?
Uh-huh.
So it's something to look forward to. No, I'm thrilled. I think the coaches are just as excited as the players.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it should be good. Well, cool, man. Yeah, thanks again for agreeing to come on. That was cool to catch up.
Wasn't even a thought, man. It was just like, got to get on there. I was, as soon as Hinkle was going to be on and as soon as Henry got on, I was like, I got to find a way. So I appreciate you. Yeah, let me be a part of this. I enjoyed it.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later, Yates.
All right. Peace out, Brady.
Big love. Peace.